Only when people are threatened with death, only then will I go to the person I trust the most for help. Then this person is very likely to be the culprit behind the scenes. And the female ghost just now, also a prisoner of Rose Prison. He was dismissive of what Aiden did. The dignified warden actually let the prisoner do such a thing. Aren't you afraid to make people laugh? What are you afraid of compared to this? I would rather not execute a kind and good person. I also hope that you will give up your obsession. Rest in peace. At the same time, Bruce is still running like hell. He has identified. That female ghost just now is the dead lady boss. Suddenly, a large hand covered his mouth, and he was dragged into an alley. Stupid, what are you screaming about? Are you afraid that others won't know about this shit? Bruce instantly seemed to have caught a life-saving straw. And the badge on that man, it's exactly the same as what Aiden found the killer wearing. And the god of war, Athena, on death row, suppressed in a dungeon with great shame. And it was the warden who was holding her. Aiden uses the help of inmates at Rose Prison. He locked down the accomplice behind the werewolf case, and with some special means, successfully forced the real murderer out. But Bruce didn't know that Aiden was watching him. Upon seeing Jarvis, he started crying about the strange things that had happened recently. Jarvis looks hideous. Can you keep your voice down? If someone else finds out about this, we're all going to die. You can stay at my house first these days. My family has a special circle for the undead. It can be seen from the house cutting alone. Jarvis' identity is not simple, but I have to warn you. Since you've already messed with me, then the road is bound to be bloody. And all this, all watched by the crows behind them. Aiden, on the other hand, also has to. The name of the real murderer? He immediately ran to the werewolf to make sure. The werewolf muttered the name Jarvis. Finally figured out why he planted it. It turned out that he had wanted to uncover the werewolf more than once, but he decisively refused. This also led to Jarvis holding a grudge. Werewolves are puzzled. Are you going to kill me just because of this? Bondard feels normal. This kind of aristocratic child has a perverted psychology. If you can't get it, destroy it. Unknowingly, it's late at night again. Aiden visits a criminal again. From the shadow. It doesn't seem to be a human colleague this time. And he had a bunch of envelopes in his hand. I know you're upset that we didn't read your letter, but no way. After all, the words you write won't end well after reading them. So do me a favor. I will grant you a request. How did it go? This prisoner's file has only 2 words unknown. The only known, he wrote that interest has the power to curse. During the day, a carrier pigeon crosses the sky. His destination was Bruce's new room. Dropped the envelope. So he left. Bruce, who had just woken up, felt very puzzled. But when he opened the envelope, his face suddenly changed. The envelope was filled with mysterious runes. Bruce studied it for a long time and didn't understand it. After a while, his head went dizzy. Suddenly, there was movement from behind. He turned to look. I just found a big hole in the window. And what he didn't know was, the sky outside the manor has been covered with darkness. Athena, the Roman goddess of war, is on death row. And the warden who held her, Aiden, was an ordinary person. With her unremitting efforts, the accomplice in the werewolf case has finally come forward and confessed, and identified the real killer, Jarvis. Aiden is finally relieved. The tone is now the material to take down Jarvis. Bruce was taken to prison and protected. The other side. Jarvis also knows that the matter has been exposed. He immediately prepared to run, but it's all being watched by Aiden. He let the witch Alice continue to interfere with him, while preparing to stop him personally. After arranging the things in Rose prison, he chased all the way on a steed. During the process, a little mouse jumped off. He ran all the way back to prison. Under the gaze of the necromancer Lena, he came to the cell of Alice the witch and spit out a few bullets from his mouth. It turns out that Alice has long suspected Aiden. You know? How could the omnipotent warden be frightened by the undead? And they keep asking them, the prisoners, for help. Lena was obviously not interested in her words. Alice continued to talk to herself. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. And Aiden is probably not the real Aiden. It just seems. Someone is ready to intercept our righteous warden. Let him test my guess. With this colleague, the werewolf smelled something. Lord Aiden is in danger. Let me out of here. The COs were very impatient. What the hell are you talking about? Someone is following him. I smelled him. It's dangerous. The lining on the side echoes the werewolf's sense of smell. Are very sensitive. The werewolf is even more emotional. Let me out of here. I'm going to save him. So the COs were a little overwhelmed. Then there was the sound of footsteps. It's Aiden's assistant, Franda. Let him go. He was acquitted. Will be released soon. I'll be responsible if something goes wrong. Hearing this, the two prison guards slowly opened the cell door. Alice next door was puzzled. Is a werewolf's nose really that smart? Here's another little interlude. One of the inmates was eager to know what had happened. The sister of Aiden's self-proclaimed girlfriend says, he knows everything. So the whole prison went on a melon-eating frenzy. Jarvis on the other side. He is constantly being harassed by crows. This also gave Aiden time to catch up with him. Jarvis heard the movement and turned to look at it. But what didn't want to greet him was Aiden's parting of justice. Master Gia, where are you going? I suggest you stay home and wait for your arrest warrant. This is a bald voice. A sword pierced through the big tree next to it. A figure flew out of the jungle. He hit Aiden hard. In a hurry, Aiden's angry horse blocked the fatal blow. The werewolf is finally going to overturn the case. Under the unremitting efforts of Warden Aiden, finally found the real murderer Jarvis. But just as Aiden was preparing the materials for his arrest, he actually chose to run away. Aiden had no choice but to pursue him himself. With the help of the witch Alice, Aiden soon caught up with him. Just as he was about to arrest Jarvis, epileptic birth, a figure suddenly appeared and attacked Aiden. Aiden blocked the fatal blow with his horse. I beg your name. Aiden Garrod. I'm White, the gold bounty hunter. He introduced, while letting Jarvis keep running behind him. I think it was also invited by his rich father. But Wright wasn't just after the money. He's going to kill Aiden himself. Because once successful, his price is sure to skyrocket. Just thinking about this. And White went straight for him. Although Aiden's flexible. But I also got kicked hard by him. This kick made Aiden fall badly. White seized the opportunity to send him to God. On the other side, the werewolves are desperately rushing this way. Finally, his life and death in Aiden. The moment has arrived. He jumped out of midair. Kick White hard, but it is blocked by a protective cover. At the same time, the cross on White's body suddenly cracked open. Aiden took the opportunity to distance himself from him. He was a little confused for a while. How did you get out? The situation is critical. The werewolf just told him to go after the fake Weiss. Right gave it to him. Aiden was silent for a moment, and I followed his advice. You have to be careful. The actions of the two completely angered White. He slashed at the werewolf. But werewolves are not so easy to bully. He kicked White hard in the head. The powerful one directly sent White flying backwards for several meters. But suddenly a lot of smoke came out. It turned out that it was the old boy White who used a bad trick. He said with a ferocious face, when I used to practice with the werewolf, "Okay, one. It must be you." It turns out that it was White who slaughtered them in the memory of the werewolves. But now he seemed very calm. He's using his sense of smell to determine White's location. Finally, he found, and he charged at White without hesitation. And then it's a straight punch. I didn't expect it to hit just a piece of clothing. The real White has run up to the tree. He threw a bottle of potion down abruptly. The potion broke in front of the werewolf. Then a terrifying tree demon slowly appeared. Meanwhile, the werewolf's right leg is tightly wrapped around the branch. And all of this was originally planned for Aiden. To kill the werewolves completely, White also prepared crossbows, facing this front and rear attack. Moment time, the werewolf is already scarred. But that doesn't mean he's down. You know, he's a real werewolf. The culprit in the werewolf case, Jarvis, was executed. But Aiden didn't do it. It was Jarvis' biological father. Under the cover of werewolves, Aiden managed to catch up with Jarvis. When Jarvis saw the haunted Aiden, he's going crazy. But no way. Keep running. As he ran, he looked back at Aiden. And inattentive, he was smashed into traffic. It made his nose bleed. The delay was just right for Aiden to catch up. Master Jarvis, are you really panicking? Now you are going back with me by yourself. Or am I tied back? At this time, there are countless people eating melons around. Jarvis' nose is still bleeding. His hand quietly touched the gun. But I didn't expect Aiden to point the gun at him first. Master, you have a lot of little moves. What I didn't expect was, not only is Jarvis not afraid, she laughed. Original. There wasn't a single bullet in Aiden's revolver. Missing bullet. It was taken by the witch Alice in episode 12. Jarvis pulled out his gun with a smug look on his face. It seems that Lord Aiden is trying to kill me with air. Suddenly, Aiden let go and threw the pistol away. Then to Jarvis, using the only flash he knows. Then he drew his sword, knocked out Jarvis' pistol with his scabbard, and the blade was already on his neck. Then Jarvis cried, "Didn't I just kill a pariah? Why are you doing this?" Not far. A carriage is quietly observing the movements of the two. At this time, some people also recognized the famous Aiden. Cornered. Jarvis chose to splash. Help, kill. Come and judge. He wants to kill me and won't let me run away. But in exchange, the blade is a little closer to the neck. You talk nonsense again. That's more than just bleeding. Jarvis completely lost his mind. He slowly touched the knife at the cuff. But you forced me. Aiden Garrod. But the next second, he was directly shot in the head. Aiden is completely confused. It was a man of noble temperament who shot. The scene was a bit chaotic for a while. Aiden also recognized him. It's Anthony who found him in episode 6. The werewolf once said, "Jarvis is the illegitimate son of an entertainer." This is Anthony speaking slowly. Everyone should know about the recent Veronica shooting. After investigation, this is actually the work of the villain, Jarvis. I am an artist. I'm not going to let him get away with it. And he did something to Aiden. Lord Aiden, I have brought the inverse to justice. Please give me some time alone with him. And he burst out crying. Now the whole direction of public opinion has fallen in his direction. This is a sudden upheaval in the distance. It's not good to love landing. It's the direction of werewolf and right. He ran over there without hesitation.